Hello and welcome to everybody. We are running through a very tough and unpleasant phase of COVID-19. In this COVID-19 phase, economic activities have slowed down and are expected to slow down further also. Many individuals have lost their jobs and many are expected to lose their jobs in the days to come. And according to the various assessments, the average global GDP growth rate is expected to turn into negative in the fiscal year of 2020-21. The expectation is that it will go to minus 7%. And similarly, according to the estimates, the GDP growth rate of India is also going to turn into negative, right? According to a study, which was, you can say, published by a private credit rating agency in the month of July, India's GDP growth rate is expected to slip to negative 6.4% in this year of 2020-21. And when the situation is becoming so grim and there is a panic worldwide that perhaps coronavirus, which is COVID-19 disease, which has been caused by that novel coronavirus, may push the world economy into a very deep recession, which will have more implications for the various sections of the society. When the economic activities go slow or went slow in the past also, then the most sufferers remain the vulnerable people, the poor people, etc., etc. So in this phase also, the important issue is that how this COVID-19 phase or COVID-19 crisis is going to affect the world's poor, because poverty is a global phenomenon. It is existing everywhere. Somewhere the percentage is high, somewhere the percentage is low. No doubt its incidence is maximum on the developing economies, whereas the poverty ratio in developed economies is very low as compared to the developing world. So in this scenario, the World Bank has come out with an assessment according to which due to this COVID problem, approximately or between 71 million to 100 million new individuals are projected to be pushed into poverty due to this crisis. It means these are those individuals who may not be poor if COVID-19 were not there. So that is the new poor, the term which has been used by the World Bank. So in this phase, in this background, I am going to discuss with you today this exact, you can say, issue, that how the COVID-19 is going to affect poverty in the world. Which dimensions of poverty will be affected by the COVID-19, right? And how the profile of the poor is going to be changed in the world. In this scenario, in this situation, what the governments can do. And because we are in India, so that is why what particular measures the government of India has taken in this phase to prevent the new people, new individuals from entering into the poverty club, and to prevent those who are already in poverty, you can say, from, you can say, going deeper into the poverty. So this is the thing. This is the whole issue which we will discuss in today's video. This is a short video. First of all, my request to everybody of you that if you like this video, watch till the end. It's no hurry. If you like this video, kindly don't forget to, you can say, give your comment, and you can say like, give your like there also on the YouTube, right? If you find it good. And if you want to get the notifications of such video in future also from my end, then kindly subscribe the this channel also. So this is my you can say suggestion to everybody, my request to everybody, because your comments are basically helpful for improvement, because feedback is the best source for one's improvement, right? So that is why I am asking you. So we are starting the topic, the main topic. The topic is that I have divided it into, you can say, 4-5 broad parts. The one is the new poor, which the World Bank has said. The second is the changing profile of the poor in this COVID era. Third is the, you can say, changing vertical dimension of the poor. And fourth is the changing horizontal dimensions of the poor. And fifth is what the governments can do in this phase. And sixth is what measures have been taken by the government of India in this particular phase to help the poor. Right? So this is basically the whole topic. This topic is important for the UPSC aspirants and for laymen also, who just want to, you can say, know the impact of this problem, right, on particularly the poor, on the vulnerable sections of the society. So it is, but I would talk in the context of the UPSC aspirants only, because this is particularly for those to help the UPSC aspirants, because such type of questions may be asked to you in the UPSC main examination. Let's suppose UPSC has, you can say, put a question before you that explain the impact of COVID-19 on poverty globally, right, or global poverty. So in that case, our general approach remains that first of all, we start defining the poverty, that what poverty is. And then we will give there some data, if you must be having, if you will be having some. And third is you will start specifying the reasons. And fourth is you will start specifying the measures taken. And fifth, you will write the as general trend. That is, you can say, way forward or conclusion, right? So that is the. But I think, in my view, that should not be the case, particularly while answering this question. This question wants that explain the effect of COVID-19 on, you can say, global poor, right? On globally poor people. So in this case, you must, you can say, not commit that wrong, right? Commit that wrong act. In this case, what you can particularly do in a smart way, that you have to see that poverty is such a phenomena which has various dimensions. Poverty has vertical dimension also, poverty has horizontal dimensions also. And how and to what extent, and you can say this COVID-19 is expected to affect the dimensions of poverty. And then there will be some statistical data also, which you can mention that this is the statistical data. So that will prove the thing, because you have to write hardly 150 or 200 words there. Right? So that is why you should not go in that conventional way of answer writing. So that is, I don't recommend that. So let us now start it. So firstly, the thing is that you can say new poor, because as I have already told you that World Bank assessment says that individuals between 70 million and 100 million would be those who would join the poverty club due to this COVID-19, right? So if the COVID-19 were not there, they may not have been poor. So this is the new poor. So there are two categories of new poor. One is those individuals who were expected to come out of poverty in the absence of COVID-19. But now, due to COVID-19, they are expected to stay in poverty for more time. So it means those people who, if coronavirus disease could not be there, were not there, they were to come out of poverty. But now, due to the corona crisis, their recovery has been slowed down. And that is why they have to wait for some more time into the poverty club, right? To exit from it. So this is the first category. And the second category is that those individuals who were not already poor, who were above the poverty line, you can say. But due to this COVID-19 problem, they are expected to slip into the poverty club. So these are the two categories of individuals, right? So before going to the next, you can say, subtopic, which is the changing composition or changing profile of the poor, you can say, I would let us, you can say, have few words on the poverty definition, right? World Bank usually categorize the poor into two categories. One is the, you can say, people in extreme poverty. We can say extremely poor individuals. Second is those individuals who are in moderate poverty. Those are called moderately poor individuals. So, according to the World Bank standards, an individual who is living on less than $1.90 per day is categorized as extremely poor. And an individual who is living on a $1.90 or above it, but less than $3.10 per day is considered as moderately poor. So these are the two categories. So now next subtopic of this main topic is that changing profile of world's poor, right? As we all know that before this COVID-19 crisis started, the major thrust of poverty, major incidence of poverty, major burden of poverty was noticed in the rural sector, in particularly the agriculture sector, right? So those persons who were depending on agriculture, either they were doing farming or they were the tenants or they were the laborers who were living, who were making their living by selling their, you can say, labor into the agriculture, right? For the agriculture. So those were the persons. Right? So that was the scenario before the COVID-19 started. Major burden was on the rural, right? But in COVID-19 phase, what is visible that many of the new poor which we have defined, you can say, uh, before in this lecture, right? You can say we have just defined that. It means that uh, the many of the new poor during the COVID-19 phase, right, would be concentrated in the urban areas, in the cities, right? Because yes, we know that COVID-19 has affected the villages also, rural life also, farming also, agriculture also, labor activities also. But still, we can say that its more severe impact is visible in the urban sectors, due to the lockdown that's there, right? So it means earlier, the vast majority of the people, of the individuals, world's poor individuals, were living in the rural sector. But during the COVID-19, the new poor which are emerging due to this COVID-19 issue, right? You can say greater percentage of those new poor is from the urban centers, from the cities, right? So that is there. So next is changing dimensions. One is the vertical dimensions, how vertical dimensions are changed, right? So a vertical dimension, we can see it two ways, you can say connotations are there of this vertical dimension of poverty. Number one, those people who were above the poverty line before the COVID-19 phase, but are expected to fall below poverty line due to the COVID effect. So this is the vertical effect, means those who are above the poverty line are shifting downwards, vertical movement. And similarly, the individuals who were already below poverty line, right, may go further deeper into poverty. One was here below poverty line, and they are going further deeper into the poverty. So this is also vertical movement. So these are the two vertical dimensions, right? And COVID-19 will affect both of these, is going to affect both of these, because some new above poverty line individuals are expected to fall below poverty line. And some below poverty line individuals are expected to slip further down. Right? So these are the two things, right? As we have just discussed that, we have just, you can say, talked that those people who are already below poverty line may be pushed further down into the poverty. What are those reasons? The first reason is that because due to the halt of the economic activity in the cities, or slowdown of the economic activity of cities, due to the closure of many, you can say, business establishments, or due to the fact that many business enterprises are not running at their full capacity. That is why, so you can say very huge percentage of labor who was absorbed by the you can say business enterprises or manufacturing enterprises in the cities, that has become free, right? And those people, majority of those people, you can say, had come from the villages. And when there was no employment in the cities, so they had to return to their villages. And when they had returned to their villages, so due to that, in the rural sector, the supply of labor has increased all of a sudden. And you know, the demand is not, you can say, sufficient there. Demand of labor is low there, right? Because of agriculture only, there is no, you can say, industrial activity. There is no business enterprises, there are no. So that is why agriculture sector, farming sector, or the related sectors, those who are not having the capacity to absorb that additional labor, which has returned from the cities to their villages. So that is why, due to that gap in demand and supply, two things have happened there. Number one, because supply has increased the demand of labor in villages. So that is why the wage rate has fallen down. Due to the fall in the wage rate, obviously, a person, suppose, was earlier, you can say, who was living in the villages, in the village, was earlier earning rupees 100 per day, and he was poor. And now, due to the oversupply of the labor, he is able to get rupees 80 per day only. So he will slip further, you can say, deep into the poverty, right? So slip down into the poverty. So this is there. And second, all of the you can say, migrant laborers who were working in the cities and have now returned to their villages, many of them were always below the poverty line. And now they have become free all of a sudden. And they would also, you can say, right, uh, slip further into poverty, right, more deeper into poverty, go more, you can say, go deep into poverty, deeper into poverty, right? More deeper was wrong, more deep or deeper into poverty. So that was thing, right? So this is the thing, right? And the second point is that due to the increase in supply of labor from its demand, there will be competition. And due to that competition, some of the agricultural laborers who were already offered jobs may not be offered jobs because of the availability of more persons there, right? So let's suppose Mr. X was an agricultural laborer earlier, and now Mr. B has returned to his village, who is comparatively healthier, right? So who is more fit for physical labor comparatively. So obviously the employer or the, you can say, uh, farmer will prefer to hire B in place of X. So replacement will be there. So that is another reason that why you can say that one reason, right? So the next point is that you can say per capita output in agriculture sector would fall. Per capita output, how it would fall? Because there are many families, some members from which were, you can say, in the cities and were doing some work there, and the rest of the family was staying at village and was involved in the farming activities. Now when all of a sudden those who were those members of the family who were staying in cities have come back, so they would also be depending on the agriculture now. So that is why, if say the previously if three members were there staying in the village and two members were in the city, and agriculture output, you can say, was divided by the three persons, right? So now it will be divided by the 5 persons. So per capita agriculture output is going to fall, expected to fall definitely, right? So if per capita agriculture output would fall, so obviously people will, you can say, go deeper into poverty who were already, right? And with this, you can say uh, more disguised labor will be there in agriculture. Leave that point here. And the third important reason for this is that you can say uh, due to more population in the rural areas all of a sudden, because those who were working in the cities have now, you can say, uh, come back to their villages. So that is why the next problem is that of the accessibility of food, right? Because the population has all of a sudden increased. Let's suppose lakhs of people from Bihar were working in Delhi. And now those people who were from Bihar and were working in Delhi have returned back to their villages, and they will also consume food. So lakhs of those people will consume food. So obviously there will be the problem of accessibility of food in the rural sector because of the rush of the migrant laborers in the villages, right? So next reason is mobility restrictions in COVID-19 era, right? Mobility restrictions, because these mobility restrictions, lockdowns, curfews somewhere in the world, those are definitely going to affect the farming activities, non-farming activities, as well as the it will increase the difficulty to access the market also. So with all these things, you can say, when the agriculture activities, farming activities will also be slowed down, right, due to the mobility restrictions, and non-farming activities will also be slowed down due to the mobility restrictions. Access to market will also become difficult due to the mobility restrictions. So it would become difficult to give timely inputs to the crops. So that will also, you can say, uh, push more people into poverty and push already existing in poverty club, right? You can say deeper further. Right? So this is the one point, okay, vertical dimension of poverty, right? How COVID-19 is going to affect that. Second, we can say that changing horizontal dimensions of poverty. Horizontal dimensions means people from some new areas, some new sectors are entering into the poverty club now. Means if the, you can say, uh, if the sphere of the poverty club was this much, and now this has been increased to this much. So that means automatically the horizontal, you can say, dimensions of the poverty have been affected, right? So how is it going to be affected? How those are going to be affected according to World Bank assessment? So the World Bank assessment says that individuals working outside agriculture are more likely to fall in poverty because before COVID-19, individuals in agriculture sector were more in poverty, right? It means uh, out of the total individuals in poverty, the larger percentage was those from the agriculture sector, those from the rural sector, right? So, but according to this assessment of the World Bank, that those people who were working outside agriculture are likely to fall in poverty now, right? Second is that the large number of new poor would be paid employees, because you know that millions of workers have returned from the cities to their villages due to the non-availability of work in the cities, right? In this COVID era. So that is why it means they were the paid employees, right? So the new entrants into the poverty club, right? The more percentage of the new entrants will be, you can say, that of the paid employees, right? Paid employees, right? And those people, those individuals who were engaged in their family-based occupations are likely to be less affected by this COVID-19, according to the World Bank assessment. And the next thing is that you can say among the new entrants into poverty, right, the bigger percentage will be of individuals from the working age population. Because due to the COVID-19, you can say who have become free, those who were already working. They were in the working age population. So that is why if the new entrants into the poverty club are those, so that means among the new entrants, the greater percentage will be that of the individuals from working age group. So this is there. Right? So now some statistical evidences which according to the World Bank study which has been referred to. Right. So a World Bank conducted its study in various you can say regions of the world, in South America also continent, in African continent also, in Asia also, South Asia also. So in the various regions of the world, the studies have been conducted by the World Bank. And according to those studies, you can say, right, new poor are likely to be disproportionately employed outside the agriculture sector. So I have already discussed that with you. So the first statistical evidence is that, which has been referred to by the World Bank, that in African country Ethiopia, 60.5% of urban household report income loss compared to 51.6% of rural households. It means in Ethiopia, the percentage of people who are facing income loss, is more from the urban sector as compared to the rural sector. So this is the point. Second study, which is that in Mongolia, the, you can say, urban households who reported income loss, 81%, and the rural households are 19%. So it means such a huge gap. It means such a vast majority of the urban population has been affected by the COVID-19 in this, by the COVID-19 phase, right? Who are losing their income, right? Such a great extent. So next is Uzbekistan. In Uzbekistan, you can say 40% of urban household have reported their income loss, and 37% of rural households have reported their income loss. So everywhere, whether it is Ethiopia or it is Mongolia or it is, you can say, Uzbekistan, right? So everywhere, the, you can say, income loss, the percentage of households who have reported income loss is higher in the urban as compared to in the rural. So this is the point. So now the next, you can say, point is that what the governments can do in this phase. So first thing is that it is very much, you can say, obvious that effect of COVID-19 is absolute as well as relative also. Absolute means I need not to compare with anybody else. If before COVID-19 I was earning rupees 100 per day, and now I am earning rupees 80 per day, then obviously I have been pushed downwards. Right? So, and relatively means I have become poor relative to, you can say, the various standards which have been uh, fixed by the national governments or fixed by the World Bank or Asian Development Bank, etc., right? Or this is, you can say, we can say that relative effect is the COVID-19. So we know that this effect is we can say unavoidable now. And in this democratic world, it becomes the duty of the government to protect its citizens, right? as uh, you can say as much as possible, or to the extent, right, as possible, to the maximum extent it's possible. So that becomes the duty of the governments, right? So in this scenario, what the governments can do, governments have only 2 3 options left with them. One option which is left with them is that governments can think of reallocation of the funds, right? Reallocation of the funds from some sectors, right? You can say towards those activities or those programs uh, which have been specially designed to generate employment in this phase, or which have been specially designed to help the poor in this phase, right? Or which have been specially designed to provide income support to those who have lost their jobs. So one thing is that which the government can do, right? Second thing is that government can extend the scope of its public welfare activities in this particular time, in this scenario. Second is that. And the third point is that government can shift its preferences, right? Previously, all the welfare programs of the government, majority welfare programs of the government, well, were focused at the villages. So now some focus could be shifted on the urban centers also, because the poor are there also now, right? So that is there, right? And then financial packages, as the government of India has also announced, America has also announced, Australia has also announced, China has also announced. So various countries of the world have announced the financial packages, right? So it means in this context, we can say that number one, we can adjust policy focus, right, to cover new COVID-19 poor also. One is this. Adjust policy focus to cover new COVID-19 poor also. Number two, work for economic recovery in specific areas from where new poor are coming, right? It means the new poor, whom we say new poor, they were already engaged in activity somewhere. And from those sectors from where they have been, you can say, set free, right? They have been let free. You can say the government can think of, you can say, some economic recovery package to those sectors, so that those sectors may, you can say, come forward, and the employment could be generated. Or you can say in those particular sectors, the government may give more relaxations, you can say, of during this COVID-19 lockdown, right? Next is, you can say, to shift focus, though temporarily, government needs to shift its attention to those areas where the burden of dependence has been increased in this COVID-19 phase. Like as we have already discussed that due to this COVID-19 phase, the burden of dependence on agriculture has increased in in our country, you can say. So it means government has to shift its attention, though temporarily, right, pay more attention towards the agriculture sector, so that we may make it able to support those new dependents, right? So this is there. And next is a direct income transfer to the deserving individuals, right? So that is there, right? The next, what the government can do, because if the though COVID-19 uh, is caused by the SARS-CoV-2 novel coronavirus, right? It is a viral disease. It is viral infection. So virus does not know who is rich or who is poor. But that is the fact that if the viral infection occurs to a poor man, it would affect him economically more as compared to a, you can say, rich person. So that is why, as far as the poor persons are concerned, if the government wants to, you can say, help them, right? From, you can say, uh, if the government wants to help them really, so that they may not be, you can say, pushed into the poverty club due to this disease particularly, government should think of subsidizing the COVID tests. Government think of subsidizing the necessary medicines which are required for this, and other equipments which are necessary to fight with this problem, right? To uh, you can say, which are necessary for the sufferer to fight with this problem. So subsidy on those programs can be thought of. So this is there. So next is measures which the government of India has taken in support of the poor during the COVID-19, you can say, crisis, right? The first measure is the biggest measure taken in the financial sector, is the financial relief package which the government of India has announced, right? So that package is of amount of $22 billion, 1.7 trillion rupees, you can say. That is such a we can say huge package is there. The purpose of the package is to lubricate the economy, right? To help sustaining the employment, right? So that is the basic purpose of the government, so to lubricate the economy enough to sustain the employment. The next important measure which the government has taken, that is the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. So under this scheme, you can say this is a food scheme, and which is going to cover approximately 2/3 of the population of the country. So this is a very big scheme, if we see the dimension of the scheme in that respect. And in this scheme, the beneficiaries are given 5 kilograms of wheat and rice for free, in addition to the current allocation of 5 kilogram, right? You can say uh, current allocation of 5 kilogram. So this scheme, initially it was for 3 months, and now it has been extended by the government till November 2020. So it means under this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana scheme, which is going to cover 2/3 population of the country, what is given by the government, free, you can say, uh, without taking any money, 5 kilogram of wheat and rice, you can say, right? And you can say one you can say kilogram of preferred pulses. Preferred pulses means based on the regional preference, right? So these are the things which are given free. So I am repeating again, under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, the beneficiaries are given 5 kilogram of, you can say, wheat and rice, and 1 kilogram of preferred pulses, right, for free without taking any money. And this scheme will continue till November 2020, and beyond that, the according to the situation, government may take the decision, right? The next is direct benefit transfer. You know, the government of India last year, means in the budget of 2019, announced a scheme, that is PM Kisan scheme. PM Kisan scheme is such a scheme where the farmers are given minimum income support, right? So that is rupees 6,000 per annum and paid in 3 installments of 2,000 rupees each in 1 year, right? So seeing this COVID crisis, the installment, the first installment of rupees 2,000 per farmer uh, of this financial year 2021 has been given in advance by the government in the month of April, right? So this scheme has benefited, according to the government estimates, approximately 86.9 million farmers in the country. So this is another scheme. Next is Manrega. The wage of Manrega workers has been increased by the government from rupees 182 to rupees 202 per worker per day, right? So this is expected to support another 50 million families, right? And next is a ex gratia amount for seniors, widows, and disabled, right? So one time rupees 1,000 ex gratia grant has been announced by the government, which will be paid in 2 installments of rupees 50 each, you can say. And this is expected to support 30 million such persons who are senior citizens, widows, or disabled persons, differently abled, you can say. Next, ex gratia amount to women, right? Jan Dhan account holders. So ex gratia amount is rupees under this scheme is rupees 500 per month, right? To run the you can say affairs of the household, and this is expected to benefit 200 million women in the country, right? So it means this scheme, which is ex gratia grant to women, Jan Dhan holder, you can say Jan Dhan account holders. So this is for the women only, right? This benefit which the government is given rupees 500 per month. Next is Ujjwal scheme. Ujjwal scheme is a scheme where the government is distributing free LPG cylinders under this scheme to approximately 83 million families in this COVID phase, free distribution of gas cylinders. And now that free distribution of cylinders have been extended by the government till September 2020. So this is another measure. Next is a welfare fund. So the government, central government has directed all the state governments, right, to use their welfare funds for rebuilding and construction activities. Because when the state governments would use their welfare funds for rebuilding and construction activities, then obviously the employment will be generated, right? So this is there, right? So next is employment provident fund. This is again a big step by the government, right? Government has announced to be a employers and employees contribution, which is equal to 12% from each side, right? You can say to the employees provident fund, right, up to August 2020. Means up to August 2020, the government will contribute into employees provident fund the contribution that was to be, you can say, uh, that was to be expected from the employees side and from the employer side. So that will be contributed by the government now, right? But for this, there is one condition. This will be applicable for establishments who are having up to 100 employees, and 90% of those employees, you can say, were earning up to rupees 15,000 per month. So for those category of you can say business establishments, this scheme will be applicable. Right? Next is, as you all know, that moratorium on payment of installments due to banks or various financial institutions. Right? Let's suppose you have taken a loan or you are to pay the card installments. So for that purpose, your credit card installments or your loan installments have been, you can say, extended by the, uh, you can say, government's decision, right? RBI has directed the banks to decide to, you can say, bring this into effect, right? So for some time, so extension of your installments for some time, right? Next is employees have been allowed to take a non-refundable advance from their provident fund. So this is the next scheme. And next is self-help groups which are working in the rural areas and which are helping the, you can say, poor households, right? So those have been allowed collateral free loans also. So these are the various measures which have been taken by the government. Number one is financial package. Number two is Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which we have discussed. And number three is direct benefit transfer to farmers, right? The first installment of which has been given in advance to the farmers. Number four is Manrega wages, which have been increased from 182 to rupees 202. That is there. And next is ex gratia for senior citizens, widows and disabled persons. That is rupees one-time payment of rupees 1,000, which will be payable in 2 installments. That is there. And next is, you can say, ex gratia to women Jan Dhan account holders. That is rupees 500 per month. And this is till, you can say, I think uh, this is running currently, right? It is up to the government that when it decides to stop it. Next is free LPG cylinders to 83 million families, right, under the Ujjwal scheme of the government. Next is state governments have been directed by the center to, you can say, use their welfare funds for rebuilding and construction activities so that employment could be generated, right? Next is uh, you can say provident fund contribution from uh, you you can say employer side and from employee side also by the government, right? So the next point is that, you can say, moratorium on payments of installments. That is the next point. And next is a non-refundable advance from provident fund is allowed. And next is collateral free loans to self-help groups. These are the various steps which have been taken by the government of India to help the poor people in the country. Though many other steps have been taken, but those are not oriented to help the poor. So that is why those have not been mentioned here. Right? So thank you. Thanks for watching this video from the start till the end. And if you find this video useful, if you find this video good for you, kindly like it on the YouTube and give your comments also, right? So, and if you have not subscribed the channel yet, uh, please subscribe the channel also, so that you may be getting the notifications anytime when a new video is uploaded. That is there. So myself, Dr. Sidhu, I'm telling you again, right? So I'm providing online and offline coaching to the civil services aspirants. I have an experience of more than 25 years, and I have authored books also, Essentia Current Affairs, Essentia Science and Technology, Essentia Magazine also. My books are published by McGraw-Hill. Perhaps many of the students must be aware of this, right? So that is there. So my number is 9023 915060. I am repeating it again, 9023515060. I am a mentor also, I am a guide also, I am a counselor also, I am an author also, I am a motivator also. Right? So anytime during your preparatory phase, you feel let down, you feel demotivated, you feel disinterested, you feel stressed, over stressed, right? So you can call me for help. I don't charge anything for those things, right? Either you can send me a WhatsApp message or you can call me directly. I will definitely try to help you, uh, right, uh, within my limitations also. So that is there. And for any other type of UPSC related guidance, right, you can contact me anytime. So I will be happy to help you all. So thank you very much. Take care. Stay healthy, right? And uh, you can say hope uh, your dreams will come true. God bless you. Okay, thank you.